MCU Spider, Tom Holland. Before there were hundreds of web combinations built into a single suit, there was homemade wiring in a queen's bedroom that barely held together. Peter built the first version himself. Scrap parts, stripped wiring, no training, no supervision. It held together, barely, and it came with a flaw nobody outside that bedroom knew about. Pull hard enough on the right spot, and the entire unit could come off his wrist mid-fight. Then Tony Stark took it apart and rebuilt it into something else entirely. He didn't just add power, he added a number nobody expected. 576 possible web combinations, all built into the exact same unit Peter already wore, with nothing extra strapped on. Taser webs, grenade webs, ricochet webs that bounce target to target before the first one even lands. The system is built for far more than basic swinging and restraint, specialized options for whatever a fight actually calls for, with Karen helping Peter reach the right one without slowing down. Strip the hardware away completely though, and the next entry on this list, no hardware at all, still doesn't fall behind. Raimi Spider, Tobey Maguire. No lab, no cartridge, no mechanism at all, sitting between Peter and the web that leaves his body. The spider bite rewrote his biology, and the webbing comes directly out of that. No manufacturing step, no reload window for an opponent to exploit mid-fight. Most viewers never see this part of the design process. Early planning for this version reportedly considered a mechanical shooter before the filmmakers scrapped it, deciding a device would undercut the entire point of the bite. The train sequence puts that final choice to the test. Line after line, both directions, helping stop a runaway train while his own body absorbs the strain. Nothing fails in that scene, because there's no external device in that scene capable of failing. The only thing under pressure is Peter himself, and he holds. Self-contained, highly reliable. Biology sets an extremely high bar here, and the next version answers it in a completely different way. The Amazing Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield's Peter splits the problem into two separate disciplines instead of solving it with one. He builds the mechanical shooter by hand, compact, wrist-mounted, engineered entirely on his own. The fluid loaded into it isn't his invention, it's Oscorp's biocable, and the film presents the material as having tensile strength 10 times that of steel. And then there's the detail that never made it to screen. Concept art for the sequel gave this exact shooter a built-in MP3 player. It never fired a single web in the final film, but it's still the closest any web shooter on this list has come to moonlighting as a music player. The hexagonal upgrade in the sequel looked cleaner, worked better, until Electro's current disabled it mid-fight. Circuits down, no backup, until Gwen used magnetism to bring the system back online. Strong material, careful engineering, one shared weak point, and it's electrical. A weak point the next version removes by removing the shooter itself. Iron Spider. The Iron Spider doesn't upgrade the shooter. It folds the shooter into something far harder to compromise. Nanotechnology builds the web system directly into the suit's structure instead of mounting it externally. There's no separate wrist unit hanging off Peter's arm for an opponent to grab or pull loose. For the first time, nothing about the web shooter can be knocked off his body at all. Running dry was the limitation every mechanical shooter before this one had to accept. This one doesn't. Web fluid replenishes automatically from the suit's own internal reserves, which means the oldest weakness on this entire list, running out, simply stops applying here. Titan proves the redesign holds under real pressure. Webs controlling enemy movement and distance while the rest of the suit handles everything else. Neither system waiting on the other. The real strength here isn't the shooter alone. It's a platform that made it impossible to separate the two. Biology answers back immediately after this, and doesn't lose a step doing it. Spider-Man 2099. Miguel O'Hara's spinnerets sit built into his forearms, firing straight off the top of his wrists. No separate device at all, just his own body doing the entire job. Those same forearms also carry retractable fangs right next to the spinnerets, a web shooter that comes with teeth, which is somehow still the least strange part of the design. Pure biology, same foundation as Maguire's version. But Marvel's own character profile also puts Miguel's peak strength at roughly 10 tons, and that changes what the line can actually do once it finds a target. Biological reliability, backed by real physical force behind every shot. Hardware makes a full comeback from here, carrying something no engineer ever could have installed. Miles Morales, Spider-Verse. Miles starts on borrowed gear, Peter Parker's old shooters, before Aunt May hands him an upgraded mechanical pair built for what the Spider-Verse throws at him. Reliable, standard toolkit, nothing unusual yet. Then his own biology adds something the shooters were never built to include. The Venom Blast existed in the comics for years before the films gave it any visual language at all. And it doesn't replace the web shooters. It rides directly on top of them. Against Kingpin, Miles doesn't choose between webbing and bioelectricity. He runs both at once. Webs for position, current for force. The combination lets him restrain and shock an opponent in the same attack. Mechanical precision, with a biological weapon layered directly on top. From here on, timing starts to matter as much as raw power. Spider-Gwen. Gwen's shooters aren't chasing raw power, they're chasing speed. Compact, wrist-mounted, built for a multiverse that shifts without warning. The real difference from every other mechanical version on this list is what they use to make the webbing. They don't run on a cartridge or a stored formula at all. Marvel's own material describes the mechanism as pulling moisture straight from the air to keep producing adhesive webbing, which means there's no refill to run out of, as long as there's air to draw from. Swinging, restraint, directional control, all standard, all fast. None of it complicated enough to become a liability when a fight turns in half a second. Consistency is its own kind of strength. Reliable, fast, and built for a fight that won't wait around for anything more complicated. Spider-Noir. Spider-Man Noir doesn't carry a shooter, and he never needed one. His organic silk comes straight from his own body, the same biological principle as Maguire's version and Miguel's. The strange part is what it looks like on screen. His entire world plays out in black and white, and the film never gives the silk itself an actual color, only a texture, thick and rope-like, described rather than shown. Movement, restraint, full web structures, all built on demand, straight from a body that never has to reload or run dry mid-fight. Reliable, self-contained, and about to be outscaled completely by sheer size. Penny Parker, Spider. Penny's web shooters aren't the weak point. They're just small compared to what's carrying them into the fight. Penny isn't actually running the SP/DR suit alone. A radioactive spider lives inside the mech itself, psychically linked to her, forming half of the system that controls it, including the wrist-mounted shooters built into the suit. The shooters themselves run on the same basic mechanical principle as every other version on this list. What's different is the machine and the mind behind them. And the version ranked just behind her still holds its ground anyway, through something no machine can replace. Classic Earth 616 Spider-Man. Every entry on this list exists because of this one. Peter Parker invented the web fluid. Peter Parker built the shooter that fires it. Marvel's own material credits him with both. A formula whose strength he can adjust shot by shot, capable at full power of halting a moving vehicle and holding multiple people in place for close to 2 hours before it breaks down. The reason the shooter exists at all reportedly goes back to Steve Ditko, not Stan Lee, who insisted Peter build a mechanical device rather than produce webbing organically. The same decision every mechanical version on this list still owes something to, whether the writers realized it or not. Decades of comics have pushed that formula sideways. Impact variants, chemical specialists, webbing built for one specific threat at a time. The hardware keeps changing. The science stays his. And because he built every part of it himself, formula and mechanism both, he can rebuild any part of it the moment a fight demands something the current version can't do. It may not be the strongest system on this list anymore. It's the only one that gets to decide when that stops being true.